How you doing? I'm Larry Elder with the Northeast Ohio Carpenters, and today we're going to learn about rafter layout. And like anything with construction, let's start with safety first. Okay, one of my first steps for rafter layout is actually getting the width and length of my building. I went to my blueprints, and the building told me it was supposed to be 8 foot wide and 10 foot long. I can't just go off of this measurement, I need to actually field verify, which I've done, and those numbers matched up exactly. It's a great place to start. I need to take these numbers, the 8 foot, and I need to take that as my span and divide it in half, which gives me 4 foot. And that gives me a total run. I'm gonna take this total run number and use it as my multiplier for all my other numbers. The prints told me that the roof is supposed to be an 812 slope. The unit line length of an 812 slope is 14.42 inches. And to verify that, I can check my square, I come under the 8, and it tells me for every unit line length, it's 14.42 inches. Great. I will take that number, multiply it by 4, and it will give me my line length of my rafter. I'll make a note of that as it's 57 and 11/16 of an inch. Let's get started. I like to start at the ridge. The ridge is theoretically the center of our building, and that's where our numbers come to. And that's where I'm going to get started. There's a couple rules for using our square. When we set our buttons up, we have our heel is 0, and I put my rise on my tongue of 8, and I put my run on the ball of your blade of 12. When I set it on there, I can have it like this, I can jump it to the other side, or I can rotate it. That's all fine. What I can't do is flip it over. That'll give me bad numbers. So I'll get back to my original starting point, maybe, and I'll come up to the ridge. My first mark is gonna be my very first plumb mark I'm gonna mark, and I'm gonna do it with a dark marker to show you guys my mark here. There is my first mark on this board. And now I will use my tape measure from here, and I will go down and mark 57 and 11/16. At my 57 and 11/16 mark, I need to put another plumb line down. This will be the outside of my building. The print tells me that I have a height above plate measurement of 4 1/4 inches. The height above plate is a vertical measurement from the top of our rafter stock down the specified number. I will use my square to take this measurement. When I get to that mark, I need to put a level cut on that, and I can do that by simply sliding my square over to that mark and continue it to the edge of the board. There you have it. Now I have a plumb and a level mark on there. This will get cut out here. We'll mark it later with C's for where we know to put our saw cuts at. This cut is commonly known as a bird's mouth. The print also told me that this particular building has a 10-inch projection. Projection is a horizontal measurement from the outside of our building to the outside face of our rafter. A lot of people will call this an overhang. Our overhang is technically a diagonal measurement on the top of the rafter. I like to use my square to lay out any projections. I'll place it on the outside plumb mark I put for the building, and I will measure across the body or blade and put a mark at the 10-inch line. Now, there's my mark, and I will put a plumb line down on that. Now you can see I have another plumb line. I'm almost finished with the end of this rafter tail, but not yet. The building shows me that it's going to get a 2x4 subfascia on there for gutter attachment, which indicates to me that I need to cut my rafters level on the bottom for a soffit return. I'll lay out the subfascia now, and I will put a return on this rafter. I will lay out the subfascia in blue. There's my subfascia laid out now, so you can see how it sits and how our roofing material can come down to die into it. The last thing to do is return the bottom of my rafter tail level so it gives me a place to cut it. Okay, there we have it. Now I have a level mark on there. I'm going to go ahead while I'm down here, and I'm going to put C's on everything that needs cut at this bottom end. I'll be putting a C right here at the bottom of that level cut for the soffit. I will also put a C on this plumb cut of exactly where the subfascia goes. And when I get to where my bird's mouth sits, I need to also notch this out for it to sit on my top plate. Now I'll make my way to the ridge board. I need to make a deduction at my ridge because my building is theoretically sitting right in the center of it. My print tells me my ridge was a 2x10, so I know that half of that is going to be 3/4 of an inch. I will use my framing square to lay out that 3/4 of an inch number. And then I will rotate it and mark it as it is a parallel plumb line to my original ridge line. There you have it. And now I will mark that with C's as it needs cut as well. Any questions up to this point? Okay, my question I got was, am I always going to make a 3/4 deduction? No, I'm not always going to make a 3/4 deduction. It depends on the thickness or the width of my ridge board. If I was using 1x material for a ridge, which measures 3/4 of an inch, I would only deduct 3/8, as that's half a 3/4. If they chose to tell me to use a LVL for a ridge board, which measure 1 3/4, I would take half of that, which is 7/8. That was a great question. Any other questions? I was asked where I got the 4 1/4 height above plate. Well, the 4 1/4 height above plate, the number was given to me on the print, but the number is established by how much bearing we're going to have on our top wall. And for this particular layout, for this slope, a 4 1/4 height above plate gives me 3.5 inches of seat, which is exactly how wide my wall is. Another great question. Okay, let's get this rafter cut out and see how it looks. Okay, now we have this rafter cut out. You can see this nice cut at the ridge. We've cut out our bird's mouth here. And you can see at our tail, it's plumb and it's level. And this is how it would sit on the building. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.